Hey guys, to get a little story, give you a little idea of what I'm dealing with here. I work with a guy. He's Miss Pet's assistant or whatever in the office, like her secretary, whatever. He calls me sometimes with jobs, like others, little jobs and stuff. Um, it's one of those things. It's kind of like sometimes I wonder if he know what she's doing and if she know what he's doing. It's what it is. He doesn't take the coronavirus thing very seriously. And I know that because he called me about a job. This was a couple weeks ago, and it was like this was like when things really slowed down. Like I worked 8 hours one week. I got literally 8 hours one week. Um, but I had to drive down to like Gastonia or somewhere, and he was like, "They need you to have a mask," and I'm like, and I could just tell the way he said it. It was like this venomous, like, you know. I said, that's fine, man. I got a mask. And I was really kind of happy about that because the jobs were slowing down. And when the jobs start slowing down like that for a couple of weeks, I was thinking about getting a job. I put in some applications. I was thinking about getting a job. Like, I was actually a little bit nervous because things got kind of bad. And thank God things are picking up now. But I got that idea from him that he didn't take it seriously. And things started picking back up for me as far as work goes. I've been running for youth and going to Atlanta a lot. And I guess guys don't like going to Atlanta. But, I went down there and dude was like, "Hey, man, I got a job for you, a mail run." I'm like, okay. I said, things are picking. He said, "Yeah, man, the states are opening back up, and yada, 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 yada." And he made it sound like things will just go back to normal. And this is niggas. This is niggerism right here. They don't follow this stuff. They're not paying attention. Listen, whether or not the states open back up or not, the postal service is going to be in trouble. And it may close up. That remains to be seen. I'm getting to the point where I'd bet on it. With Trump, yeah. This is going to be a different kind of recovery than any kind of recovery we've seen in the past. It's a good thing for me, I guess, because I think a lot of people are going to be scared to go back to work and do some of these jobs simply because of the fact that it's a recovery, but it's not. I don't feel like we've really gotten past it. I feel, it's weird because it's almost like somebody could look at me and say, "You want this to be worse or something," and I don't. I wish that we had dealt with it, but we really didn't. We didn't really quarantine. This thing didn't really happen, and like Rachel Maddow said on her show the other night, they're doing estimates now. Their estimates they did about death count and all that was based upon like reasonable things. Like reasonable people will social distance, and reasonable people will not do this, that, the other, and people are doing that, and so the numbers are worse. I just think that people like that guy. I thought about it. That guy that I work with is almost like it's like a policeman's boots. If he said you gotta have boots, and he's like, he works in an office. He's not gonna have a big risk of, well, he might work at home, I don't know, but he doesn't have a big risk of getting contagion, getting sick with anything. Whereas for me, I do. I have a risk of things. Like a policeman has a risk. He's got to have boots because he's walking in blood, he's walking in chemicals, he's going into drug houses, he's going into condemnable houses where he might fall, something might, the floor might break, it happens. He's got to have boots because he's got to chase people. So those boots are something he needs to protect himself. That guy doesn't understand it. And, I'm at the point, when you get older, you get to the point to where you can look at things through other people's point of view, and it's good to do that. And I try to do that. But I'm a man. And I'm going to do what I want to do, But I do try to look at things through a point of view. I don't think he's had anybody maybe affected by it. I don't know. That's fine. That's his business. I don't think he's had anybody that's really been affected by it. And I think not gonna say he's a Trump supporter, but I think he's like one of those conservatives that aren't in the streets. They're not out here working. Like the governor of Texas is what he was talking about. We can let people this, that, and the other. Well, you're not gonna be out here working. You're not gonna be out here doing that. And I guarantee if you did, you'd have a mask on. You have all kind of stuff on. So your word doesn't mean a whole lot. It just doesn't. I don't like talking to that guy after that. I never made a big deal about it because we don't talk often. Like me and that guy, we might talk once a week, if that much. And usually it's just about like, hey man, I got a little job if you want to work it. That's all it is. We don't talk like that. I think this is a crisis. It's weird because all those years living with my grandfather and reading about survivalist boards and reading about Jerry D. Young, his stories and stuff on survivalist boards, I always thought like a lot of those stories were crazy, were fiction, and I didn't believe that stuff. And it's like I'm living in a world now to where the little vignettes that they put in the stories are happening in front of me. Like, okay, we know in a pandemic or a major crisis, as the rule of law breaks down, you're going to have a lot of crazy people out here in the streets. That's one thing that you learn with survivalism is that it's a lot of crazy people. There's a lot of people out here that are on drugs that are, they're prescribed drugs. And, and they're able to function on these very high level drugs. But if they get off those drugs, the public should watch out. And, you learn about that, people needing drugs. You learn about all that kind of stuff. And I would add in these ideologues, these ideological Christians who want the end of the world, who want doomsday, who want to die in essence, but who want to destroy everything. They want to do that. We're watching that. That to me is what the protesters are, is that if I can't live in the America that I want, then I don't want to live. And I don't care about your safety or your health, or I don't value your family's health. I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm going to do what I want to do. I don't want to wash my hands. I'm going to wash my hands. They're fighting for that. They're fighting for the right to not wash their hands. And you know what I mean? That's why I mask up and stuff, and I take it so seriously. Because, see, I was living in a world with people, and everyone took it seriously, and people were like wearing masks and practicing social distancing and stuff like that. If that was going on, then I probably wouldn't go as far as I do. But the fact that no one here takes this seriously down here in Charlotte, it makes me go further with it. And they're talking about it's different strains of it, but they're saying it may have mutated. I mean, this is just, I want to go back to survivalist boards and read through some of those stories they wrote, because like I'm living in some of those stories right now. Real talk. I don't even remember all the names of the stories, but Highlight or something, Low, I forgot. It's all kind of different names. Scavenger, Subaru something, Frisco Lessons. That's a good one. Some of them are a little crazy. That white boy idea of we're going to fight against all these zombies and stuff. I mean, well, none of it's zombie stuff, but just this crazy idea about I'm going to go here and build a bunker, and no one's doing that. I don't buy none of that stuff. I mean, I look at it mock EAS stuff. That's what I was doing before this. I haven't listened to any mock EAS stuff really since March because, let's go look at the CDC numbers, about 300,000 dead a day by the beginning of July. I'm looking at that, but yet I'm crazy for wearing a mask and I'm surrounding people who don't. You see what I'm saying? That's why I'm honestly, when I see these people protest, and I'm kind of like, well, good. A bunch of them are going to die. Yep. If they can go off and live in that world that they want to live in, the underworld, where there's no restrictions, it's a childlike idea of liberty. I ain't got to wear a mask. I ain't got to wash my hands. I don't have to take any kind of preparation. It's a childlike view. my liberty matters more than anybody else's. You know, people will say to me, I'm a temp, right? And I've already told you guys my money slowed down and things got kind of tight for a minute there. I'm used to having jobs to where she can give me 2 different jobs and I'll be like, nah, I don't want to do that. And she'll call me back that night with another job for tomorrow. That's what I'm used to, guys. You understand? Life of a temp is not that bad. It's a lot of work if you want to do it. Like, there was a time I wasn't doing flatbed because I didn't want to do it. There's been a lot of flatbed jobs I've turned down because I'm like, I don't have to do that. You know what I mean? It wasn't, I just didn't have to do it. I'm like, fuck that shit. I got mail and stuff. Now it's like, I kind of like doing flatbed. You know, it's kind of, it's a hands-on gig. It's a lot of hours, and you're not even driving that much. You might drive 2 hours, and you get 8 hours. You know, I'd rather do that than fucking go to Atlanta. But if I want to look at horror or something that scares me, then I'll fucking look at like my hands off. I'll look at fucking the CDC numbers. I'll look at where they in essence say that they know people aren't taking it seriously, so they had to alter their numbers. I mean, I don't believe that. 300,000 a day. I think it's going to be way more than that. Because, for one thing, let's remember something. Even though Trump's having his issues with them, and even though Trump's getting mad at them and all this stuff, let's understand something. Trump is mad at facts. Trump is mad at the facts. That's what he's mad at. The CDC, it's still his CDC. And those are still his boys. Those are still free market capitalists up in there. So they're not reading all the numbers. They're not giving you the bottom line here, buddy. They're not giving you the bottom line. Nor should you expect them to. Right. They're not giving you the bottom line. But I never thought living a day where WHO and the CDC would fight against each other and the president of the United States says we're going to defund the WHO. I never thought I'd see that. I mean, it's like America is a failing state. America is a failed state, man, in every way. We're watching a failed state respond to a rapidly emerging infectious substance where you've got millions of people who are out here not taking it seriously. And you've got a culture that is mocking people for taking basic protective measures. I mean, I just realized that. Like, I always thought living in the South was bad. Like on my birthday, I said that I didn't like living here with a bunch of rednecks and niggers. But I realize now, like, living in the South is hazardous to your health. Why? Because you're around people who really don't care about their health. You're living with people who don't care about science, who don't value these basic things that most people accept as reality. And if that's the case, and they don't recognize basic science, basic logic, basic reason, well, when you have a crisis, it puts you that much more in danger. Someone said it to me in the beginning. Somebody said it to me back in March to act as though everybody has it. And that's basically my standing orders for myself. Peace.